G'day everyone, Prep Aussie here. I hope you're all well in whatever part of the world you're watching this video. Today is Thursday, the 25th of July 2019, and the time here is 10:35 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Okay folks, few things to go through, mainly financial, and then we'll end with the prayers. This is my sponsor, Totally Rawsome, who make golden activated turmeric paste. If you have not tried this, you need to for your joint pain, especially if you're an older person like me. Guys, this stuff does work. There's no two ways about it. If you're not taking it, you should do. You can even give it to your dogs. It's that good. This is their contact details. Bundles Farmers Market every Sunday, 6 till 12. Contact details there. There's a mobile there, 0433 165 4848 and info@totallyrawsome.com.au. Okay. I'm going to show you something first. I'm not into the Q stuff, but something happened the other day on Q that made me look. I only follow Stroppy Me. Oh, well, I only listen to Stroppy Me as regards to Q. And the reason I do that is because he gives you a no-nonsense approach to it. He just tells you exactly what's there. He doesn't try to manipulate it or look into it too deep. And like everyone else, he actually just gives you the message that Q gave us. There's one thing that happened the other day where it was in regards to a watch. Now, all you guys in America, if you wouldn't mind forwarding this on, because you'll see what I mean when I show you. So here we go. Okay. Now, this is a screenshot from Stroppy Me's Q post on the 19th of the 7th. Now, there was a lot of conjecture about what this is, who is it, etc., etc. Well, I'm pretty good at doing testing on pictures, etc. And I had a good look at it and I tested it. And what came up, if you can see this, I'm hoping you can. If you see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's a hand. Okay, it's actually not a face. Now, if you have a laptop, you'll see what I mean. If you actually turn your laptop over, or just literally turn the picture over, you'll see that this is a sleeve and this is a hand reaching for this watch. Okay, there's no two ways about it. I've tested it and that's what it is. That's a sleeve, that's a hand. And if you look really closely, you'll see a digit there, a digit there, a digit there, there, and there. Okay, now what Q was trying to tell everybody, or what he's trying to get everybody to guess, is, that everyone was saying about the time. It's 10 to 5 in the morning. So whoever this was, if this is Trump getting dressed at 10 to 5 in the morning. Now, everybody knows that Trump gets up at 4 o'clock every morning and then gets dressed, and he's at work by 5 o'clock every morning, if not earlier. He's an early riser. So here's what people need to do if they're fair income about this. They need to find out if Trump was wearing that watch on the 19th, B, who was with Trump when he got dressed that morning. And then you'll be able to narrow down who it was that was with Trump and who Q is out of that group. That picture might have been taken by someone completely differently, but it's one of those, it's a trick conundrum type question. So you've got to look into it a bit more. So look, if you guys want to forward it on to the people in the know over there, then they'll be able to find that out. Simple as that. That's all I wanted to say on it. So good luck. Okay, this is Trading Economics homepage, and I left that up there so you could read it. German factory activity shrinks the most in 7 years. Well, that's interesting, because you remember the other day I said to you that China and Russia and Germany are now becoming entwined financially. And Trump is actually pulling away from Germany a lot, and it's having a huge effect on their economy. The Germans are not doing the Germans need to be doing super to keep the EU afloat, and they're not. They're actually failing at just about every parameter, financial parameter you can find. So just remember that. So, you know, everyone's telling us, oh yeah, things are great and blah, blah. No, they're not. They're absolutely going backwards all around the world. Every financial parameter you can think of. Don't believe me, listen to the experts. They're telling everybody the same thing. Somebody said the other day that wondering if I could focus on the big four, what we call the big four banks in Australia. That's Commonwealth, Westpac, NAB and ANZ. Basically, here in Australia, we have a monopoly, basically. There's only four banks, and if there is any smaller banks, they're owned by the big four banks anyway. Like, for example, Westpac owns Bank West. Oh, no, sorry, Commonwealth owns Bank West, Bendigo, and a few other players. Westpac owns the other couple, and NAB own a few. And look, there's just no way out of the financial mess that the banks are in. Now, I just want to show you something so you guys can go through this yourself. So if you go to the home page, this is yesterday's home page, by the way. I just wanted to show you that heading. So let's see what happens when the US factory activity stalls in July. Now, what I wanted to do, just go down here and you'll see Australia. I want to do this so you guys can see it. Where is it? Australia. So you click on Australia, stock market. And then underneath the stock market, you'll see all the banks, Westpac, Commonwealth Bank, NAB, ANZ. Now, I'm going to click on Commonwealth. Now, this is Commonwealth's chart at the moment. Now, let's go back 5 years. Ooh, I have no idea what that is because that's not factual. I don't understand why it's done that. You know, Commonwealth shares have never gone down that low except for 207 when they went down to about $10 or something. Okay, now relative to the other banks, and I'm going to show you this first. Okay, their shares are at $82. Okay, now look at Westpac's 28, ANZ 27, NAB 28. Commonwealth's are at 82.35. So let's just talk about that for a second. Westpac, ANZ and NAB are all around the $28 mark. Commonwealth is at $83, more or less. So you've got to start to wonder what the hell is going on. And then you have to ask yourself, well, why the big gap between, you know, what's sensible? And if you look at their earnings, their yearly earnings, etc., they're all roughly making the same money, 4 billion, 5 billion, you know, blah, blah, blah. So nothing really sets Commonwealth apart from everyone else, except for one thing. And that one thing is consumer confidence, and the fact that when Commonwealth was broken up years ago by the government, because it used to be government run, they sold the shares off to the public. And of course, mum and pop shareholders bought loads of Commonwealth stocks because it was a sure way to make money. So now you have all these people who have shares in Commonwealth who are sitting there going, you bloody beauty, $82. But If you look at it on the opposite side, here's the downside of owning those shares. The Commonwealth Bank currently in its portfolio of mortgages or money inside its banking system, lending, it has nearly 80% of its money portfolio wrapped up in Australian mortgages and businesses. I'll say that again. It's nearly 80%. Do you understand the problem? Commonwealth Bank is our Deutsche Bank. It's so bad that a leading economic person from overseas, when he heard of the level of mortgage debt, for example, or lending that the Commonwealth Bank has, he said, you do realise that they are going to crash. I'm not saying that for hyperbole, folks. I'm saying that because that's what everybody said, not just one guy, by the way. They have nearly 80% of their portfolio wrapped up in the Australian mortgage market. So sit back and think about that for a second, because what's happening with the Australian mortgage market? John Adams has been on recently, or he's been saying it for ages. The Australian politicians know what's wrong with the Australian mortgage market, and that's why they're trying to prop it up with every single. We're actually going through a subprime problem right now. Commonwealth Bank is our Deutsche Bank. It's a huge, huge, huge problem, and there's no way out of it for them. The government's going to try and throw as much as they can at the mortgage market to keep it propped up. What's the answer for Commonwealth Bank? There isn't one. It's not. There's nothing they can do. It's not going to work. Their shares are going to crash. It's as simple as that. When this all starts, this hasn't started yet, folks. Forget anything that anybody's telling you about mortgages, etc. Here in Australia, they're fudging the numbers. It's bad, but this is nothing compared to what it's going to be. Now, during the financial crisis in 2008, I could have bought Westpac shares and Commonwealth shares for $10 each, $5 each, I think they were, 5 and 10. I think Commonwealth went down to 10. It might even be a bit more, but I do remember Westpac was $5, and they nearly went bankrupt. Now, compare that to today. So we've had, 2007 to 2019. So we've had all these intervening years of more money, more money, more money, more money, more mortgages, people getting out stupid mortgages. Because don't forget, we had the Banking Royal Commission and they completely fudged the whole thing. Each of the banks had to give back nearly $4 billion because of bad lending practices. And that's just a drop in the ocean to them. They didn't care. They didn't bat an eyelid. So for all you people who are here in Australia who are wondering what's happening with the Aussie banks, before I say that, NAB in the UK bought, I think it was Northern Rock or one of these Lloyds, and they've either gotten rid of it recently or tried to get rid of it, but massive loss. So guys, look, the person who asked me to talk about the big four banks in Australia, very simply, guys, they got nowhere to go. And the knock-on effect to us, because don't forget, and here's the big, big, big problem, which you all need to understand. The big four banks in Australia basically run our superannuation market. basically run the superannuation market. So there's nowhere for anybody to go once this all starts to go, because everybody's going to lose everything. So, and it hasn't even gotten bad yet. You know, you're talking about a nearly 30% downturn in Perth alone for housing, mortgages, or house prices. So it's not even gotten bad yet. So imagine if that was 50%, 60%, 70%. So for the person who asked me about banks in Australia, they are going to go down the gurgler, because most of their money is lent from overseas. So their rates for their rates for overseas borrowing are increasing, not decreasing. So the government can complain all they want if they drop interest rates. The banks are only going to go to a certain level. I'm pretty sure it's about that level now, and they're not going to go any lower. Maybe a bit here and there, but it won't be what the Australian government wants it to be. Because don't forget, they're working in collusion here to try and get the mortgage market to go back up, because we're in a subprime crisis. So, eyes open, ears open, keep watching and learning, folks, and pay attention to what the big four banks are doing. If you've got loads of money wrapped up in them, I'd be trying to get it out of them real quick. Anyway, let's do the prayers. Okay, here's the verse of the day. Good will come to those who are generous and lend freely, who conduct their affairs with justice. Very good. And as always, folks, we'll end with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. All right, folks, I'll leave it there. I hope that was informative as regards to the big four. But, you know, like I said, I've got no money in them. I took all my money out because I have no faith in them, basically, to sustain what's coming. And look, no one's going to be able to sustain what's coming. You know, you need to manage your portfolios really, really well, you know, basically from a year ago. If you're not, then you need your head read. All right, guys, God bless. Prep out.